He lied about it because he never expected to win. He also lied about it because he stood to make hundreds of millions of dollars on the Moscow real estate project. And so I lied about it too, because Mr. Trump had made clear to me, through his personal statements to me, that we both knew to be false, and through his lies to the country, that he wanted me to lie.
That's just one of the allegations made by Michael Cohen today, also speaking about WikiLeaks. Roger Stone, take a listen.
In July of 2016, days before the Democratic convention, I was in Mr. Trump's office when his secretary announced that Roger Stone was on the phone. Mr. Trump put Mr. Stone on the speakerphone. Mr. Stone told Mr. Trump that he had just gotten off the phone with Julian Assange, and that Mr. Assange told Mr. Stone that within a couple of days there would be a massive dump of emails that would damage Hillary Clinton's campaign. Mr. Trump responded by stating to the effect, "Wouldn't that be great?"
Now, Cohen also speaking about the hush money paid to Stormy Daniels.
I am providing a copy of a $35,000 check that President Trump personally signed from his personal bank account on August 1st of 2017, when he was President of the United States, pursuant to the cover-up, which was the basis of my guilty plea, to reimburse me, the word used by Mr. Trump's TV lawyer, for the illegal hush money I paid on his behalf. The President of the United States thus wrote a personal check for the payment of hush money as part of a criminal scheme to violate campaign finance laws.
And joining us now, former federal prosecutor Steve Levine. And Steve, a few things jump to mind from today. One is, we would have been better off with a guy like you asking the questions rather than some of the atmospherics of 5-minute jostling for time, particularly of Republicans who didn't really seem to want any answers today other than just coming back to the legitimate point about how truthful or how reliable Cohen might have been. That said, I thought in the 20-minute opening statement that Cohen gave, he gave clear roadways where they could have gone to paint a more broad picture that wouldn't have in any way impacted the Mueller probe. But I think, at least at this point, there's been opportunities missed. What has been your sense in terms of not just what Cohen said, but also what he's been asked or hasn't been asked?
Well, I think you're exactly right. That opening 20-page memorandum, which I've read and I listened to as well, I thought it contained some explosive allegations that, of course, Republicans just failed to address. They went after Cohen's past lies. They suggested he was trying to profit in some way by coming before Congress today and perhaps entertaining a book deal in the future. But they didn't address these explosive allegations in his opening statements. I would have liked both parties to have dug deeper into the allegations that President Trump, then private citizen Trump, filed or submitted false financial paperwork to Deutsche Bank between 2011 and 2013 in an effort to purchase the Buffalo Bills.
To your knowledge, did the president ever provide inflated assets to a bank in order to help him obtain a loan?
These documents and others were provided to Deutsche Bank on one occasion where I was with them in our attempt to obtain money so that we can put a bid on the Buffalo Bills.
I have no doubt that that's something the Southern District of New York is looking into, because the bank fraud statute of limitations is 10 years. I would have liked to have heard more about that aspect of something that Cohen addressed. But there's more. There was the personal checks that went to Stormy Daniels. There were 11 of them, apparently. I would have liked to have seen all 11 checks, or however many Mr. Cohen had access to. There should have been more questions about those checks as well.
You know, I think one of the things that you mentioned and touched on is the Southern District. There's a lot going on in the Southern District, apparently, that we don't know about. Just talk about how central a role, in many ways equal, if not even more important than the Mueller probe here, the Southern District could play.
Absolutely. So Mueller's probe is limited. He is supposed to look at collusion with Russia, and whatever is outside the bounds of that investigation, Mueller has and will continue to send to other districts that have jurisdiction. The Southern District of New York doesn't have those limitations except for the jurisdictional issues. As long as something happened in New York, they can investigate, and they're going to. They're known as a very aggressive U.S. Attorney's Office, and they're going to look at this without the time constraints, without the limitations of some memo from the Deputy Attorney General. So I have no doubt that they're looking at any misconduct by the Trump Foundation, and Michael Cohen referenced misconduct by the foundation when he spoke about the purchase of a $60,000 portrait that Donald Trump now owns and hangs in his own private residence. That's worthy of investigation. The Trump organization itself is likely under investigation by the Southern District of New York. So those probes will continue, I would imagine, long after Mr. Mueller closes his investigation.
Finally, Stephen, for a lot of folks out there who are just trying to process what they heard and then try to kind of factor on the scale here, one side of the room said, hey, this guy's a lying crook, he's going to jail, we can't believe a word he says, versus the other side that's acknowledged as such, but also said he's testifying under oath. Michael Cohen had a lot more to lose today than gain, especially if he lied under oath and perjured himself again. This wasn't a no-lose situation for Cohen today, correct? That's
absolutely correct, and that's why I think Michael Cohen came across as a credible witness. If he were to have lied today, he could be facing further prosecution. He is not going to get what was referenced in the hearing today. He's not going to get substantial assistance or a motion to reduce his sentence of 3 years because of his testimony today. His testimony today does not further a federal investigation. It assists Congress in its effort to participate in checks and balances, and Michael Cohen brought those checks, the checks that Donald Trump wrote to him, but it doesn't help Michael Cohen's prison sentence, which is what some people think that's why he was testifying. So he absolutely had more to lose than to gain today.
Stephen Levine, I appreciate a few minutes. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, everyone, we are bringing you into our conversation, opening up the phone lines. In fact, they're open as we speak. What do you think? Do you believe what Michael Cohen had to say today? What does it tell you, one way or the other, if you believed or not, about what you believe about this president and the case that is growing against him? The toll-free lines are open right now, 888-766-2428. That's 888-RNN-CHAT. Your phone calls straight ahead.